Hi, good day to everyone. This is James Ray Cortez. So in this video, we will discuss Data Privacy Act of Philippines. So what is our agenda for today? So our agenda for today is we will discuss all about the data privacy law, and we will also discuss how it will affect you. So on us, the IT professionals. So ang first question, what is more important? Ano po bang mas importante sa atin? Our data or our money? So, ang data, yan po yung ano, no? Kung gumagamit tayo ng Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram, all of the details that we have submitted, our names, our pictures, our data. Okay? And money. Syempre, no, with regards to our economic and uh, economic capacity to produce money. So, kung ano man yung na-save natin or ano yung mga naipon natin or gagawin pang pera, uh, yan yung pinag-uusapan dito. Ang tanong, ano ba yung mas importante sa atin? So, unang-una sa lahat, let's discuss all about who stores our. As you know, gumagamit tayo ng Facebook. Some of our pictures, names, and even location are posted on Facebook, YouTube. So when we post our videos, yan, sinestore din ni YouTube. Some of our searches and questions sinestore din ni Google. And also our locations, no? And some of their data, uh, kung mapapansin natin, is being used also by top providers around the world, like Uber, Spotify, Amazon, LinkedIn. So these companies are storing our data. Even the government here in the Philippines are storing our data. Like NBI, Philippine National Police, SSS, Pag-ibig. So all of them are storing our data. So according to Mr. Uh, Damian Mapa, a former Deputy Privacy Commissioner, in today's environment, where competitors can copy your products, pirate your employees, and mirror your algorithms, data is the only sustainable competitive advantage. So, nilevel set niya na yung data mismo ay napaka-importante in today's digital economy. So, sabi pa niya na data is more valuable than money. If someone takes your money, that's all they have. But if you let someone take your data, they may eventually take your money too. And even your identity, yung pagkatao natin. So dito, it answered the question, ano bang mas importante? Yung pera or yung dignidad? Yung pagkatao natin, no? Yung data, yung pagkakakilanlan natin. So malinaw dito sa sinabi ni Mr. Don D. Mapa na mas importante yung data compared sa money na meron tayo. So one example na kung bakit mas importante ang data. Itong for this instance, the public school teacher uh, nagkaroon siya ng utang, no, because of the identity theft. Okay? So magkano yung nawala sa kanya or magkano yung pagkakautang niya na ngayon? So nagkautang siya ng 800,000 without without his notice, no? So, ang nangyari diyan, naalala niya na yung photo niya of his PRC ID, na-share pala niya online. So, just by sharing your PRC ID with your details na birthday, address, PRC number, okay, nakuha na yung details, ginamit pa para sa loan. So, ang tanong, sinong nakinabang? Di ba? It's just a data. It's just a picture to flex or not intentionally to brag. Just to share, no? Na siguro, bagong pasa itong teacher na to sa PRC, sa LET exam. Without him knowing, to share the details nung PRC ID niya, nagamit pa doon sa loan. And ang nakinabang, hindi siya, ibang tao. Probably friends, probably someone in public to may access doon sa sa ano niya, FB page. Okay? So, nakakatakot siya kung iisipin natin, once our data is published online or some some companies that has our data, unintentionally kung mawala yung data sa kanila, maagaw ng ill intent, may ill intent na third party, maaring mangyari din sa atin yung ganung example. So some other example of breaches. So first, we have COMELEC. Yung COMELEC, no, few years ago, nangyari to, yung COMELEC. Nahack yung database natin sa Pilipinas na ano yan eh, malapit-lapit dun sa election, no. So nahack. So 55 million of data has been compromised, not just in the Philippines but around the globe. So ang question, sino ngayon yung liable para managot? Kasi most essentially, ginamit na yung data natin for some other reasons. Pwedeng binenta sa black market, sa Tor network, or any other purposes. So may katumbas yon. Kada data may katumbas po na halaga sa sa dark web. And another example of breaches is yung login procedure, no. So login procedure na akala trusted yung website, most essentially kapag na wiretap yan or kayang makita yung form data hindi encrypted, then most essentially na-hack yan. So without us knowing, meron ng man in the middle na kumukuha ng data. We may not know it, possible na magamit yung data natin for some ill intent na monetization at the back end. So another example, some of the breaches na nangyayari din sa Philippines, no. So yung mga top students and passers. So nakita naman natin na may mga nursing graduates or LET graduates na pinapaskill ng mga colleges and universities yung information ng students. But some of the students and some of the organizations, hindi nila kinukunan ng consent yung estudyante. Okay? So one example, itong instance na to na merong top student, top 2 siya, and then nag-file siya ng complaint sa NPC dahil nga walang consent yung paglalabas ng data niya or yung pagpapatarpaulin, no. Kasi pinublish ng school yung detalye ng estudyante sa tarpaulin. So sabi niya, it is without my consent. Hindi ko gustong ma-publish yan. So if the student filed a complaint dun sa NPC. So this is some of the breaches. And then number 4, an example of unsecure storage of patient records. So patient records, ibig sabihin, this is in relation to medical field. So did you know na yung sa medical field, ang medical records and data information is one of the most expensive data that you can sell on the black market sa dark web. Yes, mahal po ang data ng medical records na isang tao kapag naibenta. So may katumbas po yung halaga. So kung gusto natin kumita sa dark web, mag-ipon lang tayo ng mga medical records and ibenta natin sa dark web. And then kikita tayo ng malaki. So kidding aside, itong unsecure storage of patient records is a malpractice. Okay? So importante na makip yan. Or if hindi naman kailangan, dapat hindi na itinago yung records, di ba? So online lending, nakita naman natin of how online lending businesses has been harassing yung mga mga users nila. Yung mga users na hindi nakapagbayad, yun hinaharas nila. So marami ding instances na nagko-file na complaint yung data subject dahil dito sa mga malpractices ng online lending. And even mga raffles, no? Kung may raffle stub na ma-misplace, nandun yung information, di ba? This can lead to data breach din. So kung may mga data breach na ganun, ang tanong, why do we need data protection? Bakit natin kailangan i-secure yung data natin? So maraming dahilan. So these are the reasons. So yung mga magnanakaw ng data, they can get a loan, okay? So yung unang example natin about sa teacher, na na-share niya yung PRC ID niya, and then without his notice, nagkaroon siya ng 800K na utang. So yun yun. And then the thieves can even open a credit card account, okay? And then yung credit card account na yun mapunta sa kanya, so doon sa magnanakaw, hindi doon sa may-ari nung information. So magkakautang ka rin ngayon sa iba't ibang bangko, no, with the credit card na hindi naman ikaw ang nag-request. Utility accounts, okay? And the thieves can apply a refund, okay? They can get a medical care. Some of the medical care, no, kaya siya mahal sa black market, dark web, kasi nga mahal ang medical care. Sa US, yan ang importante sa mga tao. You should have healthcare, you should have a health insurance and life insurance. Yun ang importante sa kanila kasi kung wala silang ganung part, mahal magbayad ng medical care sa US. And kung mapansin nyo dito sa Philippines, mahal din talaga magpagamot, no? Kung nasa private. These thieves can also act a crime and fraud in our behalf. Okay? And then, they would say na sila, ikaw. So ngayon, sino magkakasala? Hindi yung magnanakaw sa batas, kundi yung na-impersonate nila. So nakakatakot, no? And even itong thieves na to, pwede mag-apply ng employment. Sabihin natin, sa Fiverr, okay? You can render your services there, or sa mga freelancing websites, no? Freelancer.com. Pero nagpapanggap lang pala yung tao na yun. He is using someone's identity. Okay? So anong impact nito dun sa tao na pinagnakawan ng data? So pwede siyang ma-deny ngayon sa future credit card and loans. Okay? Pwede siyang hindi mabigyan ng services. Okay? Dito sa atin, sa Philippines, sa public sector, kasi nga blacklisted na siya. Denial of medical care kasi nga marami siyang utang. Or you can be harassed by collectors. You can be filed by lawsuits without you knowing, hindi mo kasalanan, okay? At lalong-lalo na yung stress and anxiety, no? Kung ang dami mong liability sa ibang tao, sa ibang kumpanya na hindi naman ikaw yung pinagmulan. Ibang tao without you knowing pa. So tataas talaga yung stress levels mo niyan. Embarrassment. And yung danyos perwisyo po nung nangyari, kailangan mo mag-recover. So, it involves time and cost sa pera. So, yan yung dahilan kung bakit natin kailangan protektahan yung data to avoid these mishaps. And then for the businesses that has liability doon sa kanilang mga data subjects, yung may-ari ng data, kung sakaling there's a problematic data action from the businesses, ito po yung some of the impacts. So first, doon sa business na yon, there will be loss of reputation. Okay? So, nangyari na yung data breach. So, yung mga customers nila or yung mga na gumagamit ng services ng kumpanya, magkakaroon sila ng loss of trust ngayon. Loss of market share. Dahil nga sa loss of trust, maaring mapunta sa ibang competitor yung ano nila, yung businesses and liabilities. Dahil nga nangyari na yung unwanted mishap, meron kang loss of trust and then damages to the person. May liability yan. Can be financially or accountability na kailangan mong ibalik dun sa tao. So with this, our country has created a commission, no? Last 2012, at the time of President Ninoy Aquino, they commissioned a new National Privacy Commission to protect the interest in the data of person of our country. So these are the key terms of National Privacy Commission Data Privacy Act. So data subject. So data subject, ito yung may nagmamay-ari ng data. So this can be you, this can be me, this can be your friends and families. So sila yung may pagmamay-ari ng personal information. This can be also sensitive personal information or privileged information. So ikaw, ako, at yung mga taong nakapaligid sa'yo is a data subject. Kung may kumpanya, and then kinukuha ng information yung isang tao, for example, mall establishments, kung may papasok na tao, kinukuha na nila ng data, yung tao na yun is a data subject. Ayan, processing. So, for any activity involves of processing ng data ng tao, ng data subject. So, for example, kinolek yung data sa mall, it is a process, pinrocess po ito. Data processing po iyon. Ni-record, nilagay sa file cabinet, that's processing. Kung in-encode, ilagay sa Excel file, that's processing. If yung file naman, yung data, nilagay sa database, it's processing. Kung sakaling nilagay yung printed file na data na yon, nilagay sa basurahan, it's called a process also. And kung shinread mo yung data, it's called process also. Kung dinelete mo, it's a process also. So next, personal information controller. So personal information controller refers to the one who controls the processing of the personal data, okay? Or it instructs another to process personal data on its behalf. So simply put, kung sinong organization, sinong kumpanya, sinong tao yung kumuha ng data, or siya yung dahilan kung paano ma-create yung data na yon. Kung paano na isulat yung pangalan mo doon sa logbook. Siya po yung personal information controller. Okay? Kung sinong establishments, negosyo, kung sinong tao yon. Siya po yung PIC na tinatawag. So normally, ito yung may-ari na negosyo, ito yung mall na yon, they are the PICs. Ito yung kainan na yon, ito yung supermarket na yon, PICs. Sila yung nangihingi ng data. That's personal information controller. Next is personal information processor. So personal information processor may refer to someone that is outsourced or been instructed to process the personal data. So one example is yung mga outsourced na HR companies natin. So yung mga payslip natin na nanggagaling sa ibang company, no, para mabigyan tayo ng payslip. If it's not our company, if it's the other company na nagbibigay sa atin ng payslip, so they are outsourced, tama po ba? So they are ngayon a personal information processor. So pinrocess lang po nila yung data, but na-outsource lang sila on behalf of the company to do the HR and payroll processing. So the personal information processor or PIP should not make use of the personal data for its own purpose because doing so will be a data breach. So next, the data protection officer or the DPO. So ang tanong, sinong gusto maging DPO dito in the future? So DPO is a required personnel na hinihingi ng National Privacy Commission on each businesses. So ano ba yung accountability nitong DPO na to? So each companies kailangan mo magtalaga ng DPO because the DPO or Data Privacy Officer will ensure compliance by the controllers, okay, personal information controllers, and the PIPs, yung mga na-outsource information processors, to the Data Privacy Act implementing rules and regulations. So ito mismo yung tao or group of individuals na magbibigay katuparan or sila yung orchestrator or mga directors na magpapa-implement nung Data Privacy Act sa mga kumpanya nila. Kung saan man sila hired para dun sa position na yon. So ngayon, itong DPO na to, this can be a personnel of the company. This can be also outsourced sa ibang company. So for example, sa DICT, okay? DICT. Sa DICT, there's an internal DPO for the internal processes. Meron din namang DPO for external. Okay? Yung mga external facing na processes. Yung mga vendor relations, ayan. Din yung mga client facing na na interactions. So merong different DPOs for that sa DICT. And then so let's talk about the data. So let's classify yung personal data natin. So personal information is any information from which the identity of an individual is apparent. So kung yung identity ko, ang pangalan ko James, okay? That's the personal data. So ma-identify na ako si James dahil doon sa information na yon. Kung kasama pa yung apelyido ko doon, ako na yon. So that's my personal information. Okay? This personal information can be put together with other information to reasonably and directly identify an individual. So for example, ang pangalan na nakuha sa akin ng isang establishment, ng Pure Gold for example, is James. But nakalagay doon yung address ko. So that will that will entails to a directly identification of me. Kasi pwede namang ipagtanong kung sino sa address na to yung may pangalang James. So that's a personal information. So another part is the sensitive personal information. So sensitive siya kasi nandito na yung pagkakilala ng tao unang-una, yung race, ethnic origin, marital status, age, okay? Political affiliations, yung mga interest mo as a person. And kung bakit sensitive ito, kasi this can also include yung health status ng tao. Okay? So kung merong telemarketer na nakuha yung data natin na nakalagay doon na alam nila may diabetes tayo. Alam nila may previous case ng heart attacks, okay? Or some other illnesses. That's a sensitive information na nakuha ng telemarketers. Our education, no? Sexual life, kung nalaman nila yan. Normally itong sexual life, malalaman lang naman ito. Normally pagka tayo, no? Nag-pre-employment sa isang mga companies, sa sabi natin sa medical testing center. So yung yung mga ganyang information, no. So importante yan na ma-keep safe tong data na to kasi sensitive information siya. So another sensitive information is yung mga personal numbers natin na government issued. So dahil nga meron tayong personal information and sensitive personal information, we should always avoid data breach. Okay? Our companies, our organizations na kinabibilangan ngayon must now secure this data, okay? For accidental or unlawful destruction, loss, alteration, unauthorized disclosure, or access to of this data. So kailangan nilang mapangalagaan yung data na nakuha nila sa atin. Okay? So ano ba yung types ng data breaches? Unang-una, availability breaches. So yung mga data na nawala bigla, no? Sabihin natin may data tayo na nabigay doon sa isang organization na to, sa isang grupo na to, sa isang business. Pero sabi nila, nawala. Okay? Nawala yung data na yon. Na-delete. Okay? That's availability breach. Kasi nawala Non-available na siya. Next, integrity breach. So yung data ngayon na na-provide natin sa isang organization, napalitan without us knowing, no? So for example, ang pangalan ng ipinanganak is binatin Jason Bond, okay? Tapos ang napalitan naging James Bond. So that's an alteration of the data, no? So that's questionable. The integrity is questionable. Third, yung confidentiality breach. If the data has been unknowingly disclosed to an unauthorized third party or personnel, that confidential data is now tagged as a data breach. So that's a confidentiality breach. So kaya na talaga yung Data Privacy Act because importante talaga yung data natin. No? So these are the current commissioners right now. We have Mr. Liboro. So he's one of the first authors of Data Privacy Act here in the Philippines. So Attorney Naga and Attorney Aguirre. So really, Data Privacy Act of 2012's goal is to protect our individual personal information. Okay? Yun ang talagang primary purpose niya. Kasi nga, matagal na to na napapansin nyo, yung data natin, kalat-kalat from the past, no? Ginagamit siya ng mga telemarketers, ginagamit ng mga call center, ginagamit ng mga establishments. Automatically, tatawagan na lang tayo. And then, may clue sila kung anong kailangan nila ibenta sa atin, no? And then, some parties may clue din sila kung paano nila tayo kukunin or to get our interest, to get our attention. So kaya pinapangalagaan ng Data Privacy Act yung ganung mga unwanted events. So where is privacy in all of this? So the law upholds the right to privacy by protecting individual personal information. Okay? So ang goal ng NPC is to regulate yung mga organizations, businesses, and people na kumukuha ng data natin. Okay? So ang mga functions ng National Privacy Commission is yung rulemaking, yung mga IRRs, rules and regulations, advisory. Its goal is to inform us dun sa mga kailangan natin gawin. And even ngayon na pandemic, so ini-inform pa rin nila tayo. So if you know, sa FB page ng NPC, marami pong useful information. Ito, public education. Dahil nga pinapangalagaan natin yung data natin, so dun sa mga hindi pa aware dito sa batas na ito, si NPC, lagi siya nag-reach out. Okay? It is reaching out by training us by monthly. Nag-training sila sa mga DP orientations, sa mga trainings nila sa office nila, different areas sa Philippines. And ngayon, mas marami na rin yung online orientations nila. So aside from that, compliance and monitoring. So it also really regulates yung mga organizations, mga businesses dun sa compliance nila with regards to Data Privacy Act. Kung meron namang mga nagreklamo, so ito yung importanteng part dun eh. Kailangan may magreklamo, di ba? Kasi may na-breach na right. So yung mga nagreklamo, si NPC ngayon yung tatanggap ng reklamo. And then they also conduct investigation. So kung merong enforcement doon sa na find out na ruling, okay? So sila din yung magbibigay ng recommendation sa Department of Justice about that complaint, about that ruling. So enforcement. So these are some of the implementing rules and regulations, okay, na nakasulat. So for the data subject or kung sino yung may-ari ng data, so ito yung rights niya. Okay? So una-una, he has the right to information. Okay? Meron siyang right na malaman na kung para saan yung kinukuhang data na data niya. Okay, so kung para saan yung purpose, so yan po, yan yung right to information. Kung meron mang changes or gagawin dun sa data niya, kailangan mo inform din siya. Okay? Right to object. So right to object, kung sakaling yung data is the party asking for the data is asking too much. So the data subject has the right to object. Right to access. So for the data na nakuha dun sa data subject, kung ako, nakuha yung data ko, I want to have an access to that data. Yan, sabi ng DPA, we should all have the right to access on that data. Kung sakaling mali naman yung data na na-access natin, upon our verification, dapat pwede natin yung i-correct. Right to correct. Kung sakali naman na ayaw natin magstay yung data sa kanila, for example, sa telemarketers or for that business na nag-contact sa atin, na binibentahan tayo, for example, we have the right to erase, okay, yung data na yon. O sakali naman na nagamit yung data na yon without our consent, okay, may damage sa atin, possible defaming, embarrassment, okay, we have the right to claim for damages kasi nga daños perwisyo, okay? And if we want to have an access to that data and gusto nating makuha yung data for our own, okay? Lalagay natin sa filing, okay? This could be electronically or i-print nila yung data natin. So that's the right to data portability. So one example is the Facebook. You have the right to access, di ba, yung data natin. And then you have the right to download all of your data. So that's data portability. Under rights of the data subjects is they can complain sa NPC. And rights transmissibility. So transmissibility means the data subject, sabi natin yung data subject is ano na siya, lolo na siya, okay? And then for some point in his life, he perished. Ngayon yung rights niya ngayon, for all of this 1 to 8 na rights, okay, pwedeng mapasa ngayon sa ano niya, sa heirs, sa mga anak niya, sa descendants niya. Na kung gusto ng descendants niya na maging confidential yung data or to correct the data, may ano ngayon, may rights ngayon yung descendants and heirs for the data dun sa ano nila, dun sa ancestor nila. So this is some of the implementing rules and regulations para sa data subject. Next, the data life cycle. So sa atin sa IT, as IT professionals, alam natin to, no? Yung data life cycle. So this is applicable also dito ngayon sa Data Privacy Act. Okay? Kasi nga, yung data, ano yan eh, hinihingi sa atin. Okay? So may life cycle yan. Ano-ano ba yun? So data life cycle starts with creation. Okay? Yung PIC, nangihingi ng data. Sige, pasulat naman ng details mo sa logbook. Kino-collect nila yung data. So ngayon, yung data na yon, sinistore nila. Nilalagay sa cabinet, nilalagay sa warehouse, okay? Or ini-encode sa database. So that's store and transmit. Ngayon yung data na yon, they somehow use it for assessment and distribution, no? Okay? And then they retain that data for keeping, for safekeeping. And after that, kung hindi na nila kailangan yung data, okay, they somehow dispose and destroy that data. So that's the data life cycle. Ngayon you have to observe this closely, no? Because this data life cycle is a stages kung saan si Data Privacy Act naka-focus. Okay? Because lahat ng ito sa bawat stages, ano yan eh, pwede kang magkamali. Okay? Yung nabanggit nga natin kanina, data breach. So each of this data cycle, each of these stages, maaring magka-data breach. So, kailangan ma-mitigate natin yung mga rules and regulations ng Data Privacy Act. Kailangan ma-apply dito sa each and every step of this data life cycle. So, kung hindi man, okay, itong mangyayari. There are penalties, okay? So, doon sa unang violation, unauthorized processing, okay? Nagamit yung data without authorization, may penalty po yan. So, these are the penalties for personal information and sensitive personal information. Ito yung imprisonment part. And then ito naman yung fine. Okay? Access due to negligence. Yan. So, nagkaroon ng access yung isang hacker dahil nga sa negligence nung, for example, some of the personnel. This can be just a personnel, no? Or the IT personnel, okay? Doon sa IT infrastructure. Ayan. So, these are the imprisonment and fines. Improper disposal, kung sakali man yung data na yon, naitapon lang, yung isang, sabihin natin, for example, meron siyang dokumento na naiprint, tapos nailagay sa basurahan. So, that's improper disposal, no? Because if there's an information there, a sensitive information, dapat man lang, na-shred na maayos. Gusto ko nagamit yun ng ibang tao, okay, may nag-complain, that's improper disposal. So lahat ng penalties po ito, pwede mag-add up, no? Hindi lang isa, kundi pwedeng mag-combine yung mga penalties na ito. Okay? Unauthorized disclosure, yan, ito po yung imprisonment and fine. Concealment, kung may nangyari naman na security breaches, kung itinago, hindi ipinaalam, okay, pero sabi ng complainant, na breach ako na-hack kayo, ba't di nyo sinasabi? So kung ganon, may penalties din po po doon. So itong penalties na ito, okay, yan po yung liability, and then pwedeng maipataw doon sa organization. Kung wala mang BPO yung organization, ito po yung mapapataw na na charges sa kanila. Okay? Kung sino man yung nagkasala, based on the investigation, sila po yung mapapatawan nitong penalties. Okay? So bear in mind, kung sa government offices, lahat po ng penalties and imprisonment na nakasulat will be doubled. Yes, doubled po for the government institution and personnels. So sabi nga ni Commissioner Liboro, sa na nagkaroon ng data breach, hindi nila tatanungin kung magkaanong pera yung nagastos para sa hardware tsaka sa IT professionals, IT experts na consult or nag-implement nung data privacy measures ninyo. Kung hindi, sabi niya, ang NPC will only ask if we have really implemented yung 5 data privacy guidelines. So ito yung guidelines, ito yung mga pillars na kailangan tandaan ng mga organizations, ng mga tao, ng mga businesses that are collecting data from us. So sabi ni NPC, okay, Data Privacy Act, kailangan talagang mag-appoint ng data privacy officer. Okay? So, data privacy officer normally, as what I've seen sa industry, normally sila yung mga CISO, mga Chief Information Security Officers. Sila yung mga sa IT security boss, normally mga department heads, mga managers, even yung mga CIOs, yung mga DPO. Okay? And then second, kailangan yung companies na yon, organizations, should create data privacy impact assessment. So kailangan malaman ng isang company yung mga impact nila. Kailangan may impact analysis assessment sila. So ano ba yung servers nila, yung processes nila na high risk na ma-data breach, okay? Kailangan malaman nila. And then the corporation, the businesses, kailangan mag-create sila ng privacy management program. And then next, that privacy management program should be implemented. Okay po. The company, the businesses should implement the data protection measures. Kung ito yung measures nito is more on sa IT yung implementation, adjustments. So yes, kailangan i-implement sa IT yung mga measures na to. And then fifth, yung preparation for the breach. So kailangan yung isang company meron ngayong practice ng reporting. So kailangan yung current IT infrastructure or processes ng isang business kaya niyang mag-report ng legibly mabilisan para doon sa pangangailangan ng data subject and then ng NPC. Okay? Siyempre, kung sakali naman na ginamit ng data subject yung right to access niya, right to data portability, okay? Kailangan mabigay mo sa akin yung data. Ang tanong kailan? Paano pag nahirapan tayo sa process ng pagbibigay ng data? So yun, kailangan nating maggumawa ng reporting practice. Kung sakali naman may breach, okay? Ano na? Alis na? Okay, tuloy ko lang to. Sige. Ayun, so kung sakali naman na kailangan ng NPC yung reports kung sakali may data breach. So normally siya from time to time, hindi mo maiiwasan na pulido yung mga pagkakataon na yung measures natin, walang magko-complain. So meron at meron yan, lalo na kung malaking company in organization. So kailangan lang prepared tayo to report sa NPC yung nangyari. Yung ano nangyari, ilan yung affected users, and then kung sino yung responsible na tao, tsaka kung kinumply naman niya yung mga measures niya, okay? Kung nag-comply siya doon sa measures, kailangan nasa report yon. Okay? So that's the pillars, 5 pillars of compliance sa Data Privacy Act. So yung Privacy Management Program, so ito siya. Some of the key components ng Privacy Management Program. So this is the third part nung 5 pillars. So ano siya? Medyo malawak din. So first part nga, governance, okay? Kasama dyan yung checklist ng pag-appoint ng DPO. Reporting mechanisms, nandyan din. Okay? Na kailangan ready yung isang organization na makapagbigay ng data sa NPC or dun sa data subject. And then here's the program controls, Kasama na rin dyan yung data security na pinag-aaralan natin dito. So here's some of the overview nung PIC and PAP's primary obligations. So kailangan yung they should adhere to data privacy principles. So kailangan transparent, yung pagko-collect nila ng data. Dapat may consent, dapat legible, malinaw. Okay? So transparency na yung data na kino-collect nila dapat freely given doon sa tao na pinagkukuhanan. Na meron talagang consent na nabasa niya yung mismong nilalaman kung bakit kailangan kunin yung data. So kailangan din, although may consent, dapat legitimate yung purpose ng pinagagamitan ng data. And then yung proportionality. Kung legitimate yung purpose, dapat proportional, Dapat top of the mind, merong dapat may logic eh. Kumbaga, kung ang kailangan mo lang is yung ganitong karami na detalye, dapat hindi mo nakunin yung talambuhay ng tao. So kasi it's not proportional kung kailangan mo lang yung konting data. Kung sakali naman na kinuha mo yung sobrang daming data ng tao, it's not proportional anymore. So again, this is the implementing rules and regulations on rights ng data subject. And then, this now the security measures. So paano natin i-implement yung security measures kung tayo man yung PIC or PIPs? So again, PIPs, siya yung creator ng data. PICs of data. Siya yung nanghingi ng data, okay? Yan yung mga PICs. So yung security measures natin, pwede siyang organizational, okay? Pwede siyang physical or technical sa IT infrastructure. So again, doon sa pagko-collect ng data, dapat may consent talaga siya. Ayan. Sinusulat natin, no? Kung nagpupirma tayo ng signature, or kung electronic naman, merong opt-in checkbox. Okay? So, ang tanong, do you always need consent? So, no. Lalong-lalo na kung may lawful basis. Okay? Kung mga government offices and institutions, bangko, or prosecution, normally, hindi kailangan ng consent. So ito yung mga hindi kailangan ng ito lawful processing. So lawful processing, ibig sabihin nito, ito yung right nung naman, yung PICs, okay? Na i-process yung data natin. So kung sakali naman may consent, yan pwede nilang gamitin yung data natin. Law and regulation, okay? SSS, Pag-ibig and PhilHealth has the legal jurisdiction from the law na i-process yung data natin. So, lawful process siya. Protect life, okay? Contract, nasa kontrata na gusto natin na i-process yung data. So, that's lawful processing. So, ganun din naman sa sensitive information. So, kung may mga court proceedings, okay? And legal obligation. So, hindi na kailangan ng consent. Pwede na i-process yung data. So, these are some organizations, government institutions na may not need to process our data. May not need to ask a consent to process our personal information. So, reminder na for the data na kinukuha sa atin, kung nakasulat na policy nila, kung bakit nila kinuha yung data, if it's not clear, nakasulat, hindi yun consent. Okay? Pwede nating always na ireklamo to sa NPC. So kasi minsan, mayroong mga pinapasulat sa atin na information, tapos yung consent details nila, maliit. Sobrang naka-font 3 lang siguro. Hindi makita, kailangan mo ng magnifying glass. So, it's not a consent. Kasi nga, hindi malinaw. Or yung tinatawag na, for the sake of collecting the data na, na catch all. Kasi merong mga, data na, sige, kunin mo na lang lahat yan para, more chances of winning. Diba? Normally kasi ganun dati yung thinking. Kung mas marami ko ng data ng tao, more chances of selling, more chances of winning, or more chances of getting what you need for that person. Pero ngayon iba na kailangan clear talaga yung consent, yung dahilan nung legitimate purpose ng isang organization para makuha nila yung data sa atin. So proportional ba yung data na kinukuha? Okay, yun ang tanong. Kung sakali naman na dapat konti lang yung kailangan na data, hindi mo na kunin lahat ng data, no? Kasi nga it's not proportional. So katulad nito, sa kung gustong mangutang, so lagay daw tong mga o information na to, sedula, medical records. So this is not proportional, no? Baka itong mga hingi ng information na to, makasuhan. Okay? It's not proportional. So really, the Data Privacy Act is to uphold the rights of the data subject. Unang-unang thinking dito is yung karapatan po natin na data subject. So kailangan yung kukuha ng data natin, okay, patuloy nilang paglaanan ng pansin yung security measures para hindi sila ma-breach, hindi sila ma-hack, okay? And then yung data privacy principles kasi ang DPA kasi it's not all about information technology. It's all around all about the holistic approach nung isang proseso ng isang PIC yung kumukuha ng data. So, first question, are you compliant sa DPA? Okay? Yan ang unang tanong eh. So, to answer that question, normally dapat malaman mo yung yung compliance mo. So may checklist. So dito, I have a security checklist for the IT, no. So this is the fifth part. So this is our security checklist. Yung ibang checklist hindi ko na muna sinama dito. So una-una, access policy for on-site and remote online access. Compliance to audit logs, kailangan may audit logs, backup solutions, okay, report internal security audit and internal assessments, certifications and accreditations kailangan ma-maintain. Kung meron kang ISO certifications na kino-comply, so that's the compliance. Vulnerability assessment, normally penetration testings, no, kasi kailangan kailangan lagi yung ginagawa. And then other means to demonstrate compliance. So I'll give an example natin sa IT industry kung paano ba ginagawa ito. So itong implementing rules and regulations na concern tayo, no, kasi IT professionals tayo. So these are the technical security measures. So kailangan daw na yung data na kinukuha natin, na kinikip natin is encrypted while in transit and during authentication, ayan. So kailangan siya, kailangan encrypted siya while in transit, pati yung authentication process, okay? And then another thing, for the agency who access personal data online shall authenticate its identity. So kailangan kilala kung sino yung uma-access ng data. And then kailangan encrypted din. And must use MFA, multi-factor authentication. And remote disconnection or deletion. So kung sakaling may kumukonek na PC or other forms of connectivity, kailangan kayang i-disconnect yon doon sa data. So remote disconnection of mobile device, ayan. And another implementing rules and regulations of DPA is regular monitoring of security breaches. So these are also the part of the implementing rules and regulations na entailing technical security measures. So parang nasa atin ito sa sa IT practitioners. So example, so ito for the DPA circular section 18, yung online access to personal data. So kailangan kasi ma-identify yung tao, okay, na access dun sa data. So for example, itong using Azure Active Directory, we'll authenticate muna yung tao, okay? Kung gusto nating ma-secure, lalagyan natin ng multi-factor authentication. So kasi yung password madali yung manakaw eh. So with regards to multi-factor authentication, sa cellphone nila, okay, may one-time password code na ibibigay before siya maka-access ng data. So these are the solution no, for Section 18. Some of the solution. Kung gusto naman natin ma-encrypt yung data, ayan, we can encrypt yung word file, no? If we want to encrypt. Kung sakaling makuha yung word file, okay, ng ibang tao, no need to worry kasi nga, may labeling siya, okay, na encrypted. So even makopy-paste yung data, yung word file, hindi mabubuksan, pero hindi makita yung content kasi encrypted. So we have Azure Information Protection for that. So ngayon, kung yung PC naman na compromise na nakaw, so ang gusto natin is ma-disconnect siya or delete. Yung device na yun, kailangan ma-remote wipe. So externally, no, kailangan, kasi nga nanakaw na-compromise yung laptop. So kailangan ma-delete yung content nun. Pag inopen nung third party, alis na. Pero tapos ko lang, malapit na. Okay. Yun, kung sakali naman na na-compromise yung laptop, kailangan ma-remote delete. So ito si Windows, Microsoft Intune is a cloud solution, no, na kayang mag-control ng mga devices. Kung nasa nasa Starbucks, nasa bahay, or kung nanakaw naman yung data, pwedeng i-remote wipe. So pwede siyang i-delete or pwedeng i-disconnect yung data dun sa corporate data. I-disconnect yung laptop or desktop dun sa corporate. Okay? Pwede kang remove corporate data. Ayan. And ayan, remove. So ayan, remote wipe using this functionality. If you want naman to regularly monitoring yung security breaches, kailangan may monitoring tool ka like this threat management dashboard for anomalies and events. And securely monitor, ayan. Makita mo dito, secure score, makita mo dyan yung non-compliance, and then yung users at risk. Ayan. So makita mo rin dito yung mga mitigation plans na pwede mong gawin. Ayan. And at the same time, doon naman sa protection ng unlawful unauthorized usage of interface, no? Kasi ang weakest link natin ngayon is web. So, ang web natin, normally, ito, username and password, pero pwede kasi siya ma-compromise. Lalo na kung nag-type pa lang tayo sa website, pwedeng yan man in the middle. Makita yung form data, okay? So, sa mga bangko, itong ginagawa. Ayan. Kita nyo to, itong form data na to. Sa browser pa lang, ayan no, clear text, kita yung password. Username at password. So, yeah, pwede siyang ma-hack sa lahat ng pinagda-login na natin, no? Lalo na pag may na malware na tayo sa PC natin. So, ang ginagawa ng mga bangko ngayon, okay, nakita niyo ito, itong kapag walang encryption dyan, kita talaga ng mga hackers to. Itong clear text form data. So, what banks are doing right now, sa mga pinag-deployan ko nito, kailangan encrypted. Ayan. So, naka-hash na siya. Itong username and password. Ayan. So, encrypted na siya at layer 7 layer. Before pa maipasa yung form doon sa server, kung nag-login man yung user sa bank nila, yung encrypted na siya. Ayan. Encrypted na yung user na ID and password. So, ang question, sa atin, no, if meron na tayong cybersecurity measures, compliant na ba tayo sa data privacy? The answer to that is hindi pa. Kasi nga holistic ito tinitingnan. So kung makita nyo kanina, yung compliance na pinakita ko is just for the technical part pa lang. Ito, how compliant are you? Sa 5 pa lang 'to, pang-limang evidence of compliance. So marami pa 'yan na ibang evidence of compliance na kailangan ipakita natin para sigurado na talaga compliant tayo sa DPA. Pero, keep in mind na itong cybersecurity is one of the core factors para mapangalagaan natin yung data integrity for our data subjects. So, kung sakali naman na you have been hacked, okay, na-hack tayo. So, ang tanong, may pagkakasala na ba tayo sa DPA? Okay. So, that will entail ngayon investigation sa DPA. Kailangan tayo makapag-report sa DPA. So, bibigyan naman tayo ng time for 1 week, okay, para makapag-submit ng reports. If ever sinabi natin na nag-comply tayo, yan, hindi tayo makakasuhan yan. Pero pag nakita ng NPC na hindi talaga natin ginawa yung trabaho natin, okay, kung sino yung dapat na magkasala, kung DPO man yan, okay, or kung walang DPO, yung buong kumpanya yung magkakasala. Okay? So, yan. So, ang rule of thumb sa Data Privacy Act, if we can't protect the data, hindi na dapat natin kinokollect yung data. Thank you very much. Hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.